Hello DevOps friends, it's me, Jochen, the Monospace Mentor. Welcome to Full Stack Live, my live coding channel, and I have a Monospace Mentor hoodie. What you say, huh? Isn't it nifty? Welcome to my Thursday stream. Today we are going to do quite a bit of infrastructure automation. Basically, same goals as I had on Tuesday, just with a little bit more progress in between. And yeah, so far I'm having a great day, and I hope you do too. Let me know in chat how's it going, what you're doing, what you are going to do today. Let's make this show interactive from the start, so join me in chat and let's have a conversation there while I'm working. And of course you are free to work as well, even if that means that you'll lurk in the background. It's always a good feeling to know that you're not the only one who's doing some work, and that you might have to bite the bullet and do stuff that's not what you would choose if you were up to it. But yeah, so let's have a nice conversation. This is going to be a long stream, I think, because I'm really psyched to do a few things with Chef and Ansible. I'd like to explore Ansible a little bit more, even though I've been using Chef for 14 years now. So that's always exciting when I can do something new. And yeah, that's why I'm really looking forward to this stream today. Now, there are also a few pieces of news that I'd like to share with you, but we'll do that in due time. So yeah, what have I been up to lately? I set up the page on my website for my newsletter, which I've started 2 weeks ago. So I have to go and write issue number 3. That's going to come out Monday morning, which is going to be the bank holiday morning here in Ireland because of St. Patrick's Day. So I'll schedule that ahead so I can sleep in a little bit. And I'd like to share with you later what I wrote in my most recent newsletter, because it's based on a question that I got during my office hour. And there is going to be another office hour tomorrow at 2 p.m. UTC, same time as today. And you'll have the opportunity to ask more questions during the office hour. And one of these questions kept me thinking so much that I decided to write my mentor monologue about it, which is the initial column that I always write in my newsletter, where I basically share my perspective on specific topics that came across my screen. Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to sharing that with you. I did decide what I'm going to write for the next issue as well, which is going to be about important topics, important skills that a junior engineer should have, regardless if we're talking about a junior system administrator or a junior software developer. And yeah, that's going to be exciting as well. I'm really looking forward to writing that column. And what else? On Tuesday, I did successfully submit a merge request for MySQL monitoring using the related exporter for Prometheus. And today I'm going to integrate this new piece of infrastructure code with the code that takes care of our specific databases. So basically on Tuesday I built the general infrastructure code that can be used in any environment where MySQL gets used. And today I'm going to build the specific integration into our infrastructure, for example, using our way of creating user accounts, because of course, in order to monitor the MySQL database, the Prometheus MySQL exporter requires a user with highly elevated permissions as well to get all the system level metrics and get access to the tables that are on the specific database that's getting monitored. So that's one thing. What I'm going to do with Ansible is try and set up student workstations or student work environments for my courses. I have another Varnish mastery course coming up in April. End of April, if I recall correctly, and actually the second part of my first Varnish course is also going to happen beginning of April, once I've returned from Germany, where I'm going to spend Easter with my family, my extended family. And so I'll need some way how students in these courses can actually do some practical work, because I'm all about practical work. I do enjoy packaging theoretical knowledge in a way that makes it easy to understand. But I also want to have this practical angle in all of my courses. I want to make them, in part at least, workshops where everyone gets to apply the knowledge they've gained and see how things work in practice. And so for this first course, I came up with a Docker environment that not only has a test environment for Varnish built in, but also even a static website based on Hugo that gets generated automatically from Markdown files containing the copy for the exercises. So this repo came both with the documentation for the exercises and the code and configuration files for the same exercises as well, which I found pretty nifty. However, that requires that you have a working Docker environment, and as soon as there is some thing that's not working quite right, then the particular student won't be able to participate in our practical parts, which is of course a little bit of a downer. And so what I'd like to do there is set up cloud instances, probably on Hetzner Cloud, where I can spin up as many instances as I have participants in a course. I can prepare them with all the software that needs to be installed. I can set up Docker. I can actually even clone a course-specific Git repository ahead of the course. And that way I can be sure that the environment that my participants will see is actually going to work and will look exactly how I want it to look like. Tiberian, hey, welcome to the chat and to the stack. What do you think of my new hoodie? I'm pretty proud of that one. Instead of relying on people being able to set up Docker correctly and in a working way, I'll simply spin up a few instances that won't cost a lot and where I am in control of how the environment looks like. And in order to set these VMs up, I thought, yeah, let's explore something new and let's take a look at Ansible for that. I haven't done much with Ansible yet. I tried to automate my workstation setup using Ansible, and I might actually revisit that eventually, but other than that, I didn't do much. So this is going to be very interesting for myself, and I hope you'll learn as much as I will. That's basically the plan for today, and if despite all my lofty goals we'll still have some time, I'm probably going to use the rest of the remaining time with writing another blog post about Varnish, because the marketing game for us online educators is all about content. So creating content about Varnish is definitely something that I have to do if I want to promote my course. And so that's going to be plan B, should I be more productive than I anticipate. So first, let me introduce you to my latest blog post. And that is on my website, monospacementor.com. DevOps.com/newsletter. And I decided to publish the last few newsletters on here so you can actually access them. And of course, if you want to get my latest issues, you can of course subscribe and join the mailing list. And what I'd like to share today is my mentor monologue on the 80-hour work week. And I'll simply read that. I'm not exaggerating when I say I was shocked by a question from a viewer on one of my recent office hour live streams. So I heard from a developer that he would code and learn for like 80 hours a week when he started in order to become an amazing engineer. I can barely do 8 hours a day, and I want to be an amazing engineer. Advice on that. Here's the TLDR. Working 80 hours a week is neither healthy nor effective. I'd go as far as to saying it's impossible. Sitting in front of a screen for 80 hours? Yeah, maybe if that's your thing. But doing actual work for 80 hours? You might very well be fooling yourself, but you're not fooling me. Now, before we get into how many hours of work per week you really should invest into your growth, let's consider... wait, I forgot that I was sharing this with you. Now, before we get into how many hours of work per week you really should invest into your growth, let's first consider the side effects of spending 80 hours a week. That is 16 hours every weekday, or more than 11 hours every single day, working on your engineering career. Even if we count the necessities like eating and pooping as part of work, it'll still leave only between 8 and 12 hours per day for the non-work parts of your life, like, you know, hobbies, social life, and sleep. And it's scientifically proven that for most people, any amount of sleep below 7 hours a night is not enough for their physical and mental recovery. In other words, if you sacrifice sleep for other things for more than a very short time, you're going to ruin your health. Let's see how not only your career, but your whole life flourishes while you're dealing with the consequences of burnout or falling asleep driving your car. Total work time also has severely diminishing returns. In other words, putting in more and more time will yield less and less additional results. Effective work requires effective rest. That is something that I'd like you to take away from this. It's great to have a great work ethic and to be willing to put in the time, but that will only work in an effective way, so you get actual results, if you also have the opportunity to take effective rest. Why do you think Ford and his fellow industrialists themselves introduced the 40-hour work week? And that was just about physical work in a factory, at an assembly line. Every athlete knows that muscle growth doesn't benefit from endless training. There needs to be downtime during which the body can recuperate and grow to meet demand. For our brain, it's similar, but it's even more limited in how long it can work at high performance. For knowledge workers, an 8-hour day is like a 16-hour day for the industrial laborer. That's a quote that I took from a book that I'll mention later. It's just not possible to keep your focus for that long, not only because people keep interrupting you, but also for physiological reasons. The brain needs time and rest to build new tissue, such as the myelin that grows around neurons when you learn, or as an after effect of learning. There's also the aspect of how much you can even achieve on your own. So sitting 80 hours a week in front of your screen, trying to cram in knowledge, trying to code and do all these things is one thing. But when do you socialize? When do you collaborate with other people? Because that's important. There's that story of someone who shipwrecked on an island with just a chessboard and 10 years later returned as a grandmaster. That's bullshit. Because you need other people to beat the Dunning-Kruger effect, which means you don't know what you don't know. So you need other people to point things out for you, otherwise you will not discover them. The only way to find the solutions that your brain couldn't come up with by itself is collaboration. Grandmasters learn from other grandmasters, and amazing engineers learn from other amazing engineers. That's why I'm so excited about the server room, my community of DevOps practitioners that I'm going to launch soon, in April. The good news is that success is not about the total time you spend working at all. Rather, it's about how much focus time you can get in. Again, rather, it's about how much focus time you can get in. In his book Deep Work, Cal Newport explains how he manages to thrive as a busy author and academic. 3 to 4 hours a day, 5 days a week of uninterrupted and carefully directed concentration, it turns out, can produce a lot of valuable output. In other words, just 15 to 20 hours of focused work per week will do the trick and still leave plenty of time that you can spend schmoozing and snoozing. Please, don't blindly believe those tech bros that tout how they built their success on relentless work, on hustle. Even if there's a kernel of truth to their claims, what they don't tell you is that they also had the means to mitigate the many negative consequences of their self-abuse. And often, those means to mitigate the consequences are also self-abuse, for example, taking performance-enhancing drugs and things like that. And I'm not talking about coffee. Instead, I recommend that you read the book Time Off, a practical guide to building your rest ethic and finding success without the stress. It's full of good advice on how to make continuous progress in a sustainable way. So that was the mentor monologue from my latest newsletter, addressing a question that I got during an office hour, I think about 2 weeks ago. What's your opinion? How much hustle does an engineer need, especially if they are only getting into the industry, to get better, to get good, and to actually thrive in their new career? I'm curious on your thoughts. How many hours per week do you work? What are you willing to put in to grow? And do you have specific rules around that? Or are you just going with the flow? Let us know. Pop in chat. So, I'm gonna switch gears now, and we will go ahead and start with infrastructure automation. Now, do I have to log in again? Not Cookbox, but Cookbooks. Here we go. Let's see. This is the umbrella issue that I've created. So we get, as an end result, a fully working monitoring system for MySQL. And one of the child items here, implement the MySQL exporter installation, has been done. That's what we did on Tuesday. And now I'm going to add a new child item. And we'll call that deploy my SQL exporter to database servers. So that's issue number 902, which is going to be the number that I'm going to use in my branch. Taburin wrote 56 to 70 hours per week as a DevOps / programmer. Help. Yeah, that's definitely on the higher side of things. Of course, it depends on the amount of other obligations you have, if you have a family, for example, things like that. Was I even sharing my newsletter on screen earlier, or did I completely fail to share that, and you just had me reading it? I guess I need to warm my own brain up a little bit more. Of course, there are other factors as well. For example, are you employed or are you a freelancer? Because the rules of running your own business are different if if you simply lease your time to an employer. But in both cases, ideally, you get something in return for that time, and something adequate on top. Okay, so let's make sure I'm working with the correct with an up-to-date repository, and my Git Smart pull didn't work, and that is because I decided to try and work directly on my Fedora Silverblue host from now on, instead of in a toolbox container. And the key to that decision is that I've switched my operating system image to the Bluefin DX image. Bluefin is a flavor of Fedora Silverblue, the atomic Fedora Linux distribution, built by the Universal Blue team, who are doing a great job at packaging these images. You might have heard of Bazite, which is another Fedora image that is directly targeted at the Steam Deck and other gaming setups. And Bluefin is a developer-oriented image. And especially Bluefin DX comes with lots of stuff that developers can really use. And so I switched to Bluefin DX simply by rebasing my operating system. I'm not going to get tired of telling you how amazing I find it that I can rebase my operating system from one flavor to the other without losing anything, without having to reformat or reinstall anything. Because the important parts, like the Etsy directory or especially my home directory, all get preserved, and it'll just switch the operating system installation underneath. And I find that amazing to no end. Moo, hello, welcome to the Stack. Happy Thursday. The latest version of Bluefin DX comes with a fully working homebrew installation. So I'm now getting in the pleasure of using homebrew like we did back when I still was using a Mac, and I can actually install all my development tools right on the host without having to resort to a container environment. And that's what I've decided to try out, and I installed a few tools already, but apparently the Git Smart gem isn't among them, which is a little bit interesting. Did I install RBenv? Oh, and that's the reason why it's not available. So let's go ahead and install that. As soon as RBenv is installed and set up, my already existing Ruby installations should kick in and will include the git smart gem that I need for my smart pull command. All I have to do is open up a new shell. So RBenv actually gets enabled. That should do the trick. Let's see if I can do git smart pull. Yep. I'm pretty happy about that because while Toolbox really worked really well, I'm still impressed by how well people were able to integrate a Docker container into my workstation environment, having my home directory in the container, having access to the graphical user interface from my container. All these things were solved really, really well and only had very few limitations, but of course running everything on the host will be a little bit more convenient and eliminate these few snags. Hopefully. I'll probably run into a few other snags instead, but it is what it is. Now, we are actually on the latest version of our master branch, so let's create a new branch with the issue number 902 and we'll call it DB Prometheus because it'll integrate Prometheus with our database service. And that's going to happen in our MySQL cookbook. The only question that I can't quite answer is, do we have to do something Prometheus specific in our company specific cookbook? I can't think of anything at the moment. Let me see what we are actually doing in this cookbook. We are setting up Nginx as a proxy in front of Prometheus for authentication and things like that. Okay. And the node exporter also gets an Nginx proxy. Okay, so I see a pattern here, and since Prometheus will also have to talk to the MySQL D exporter on all the database servers, I'll have to start here with a recipe that puts an Nginx instance in front of the MySQL D exporter. Which means we'll need to add another child item to our umbrella task here, which is secure MySQL exporter with a proxy. So this needs to be done first. And as soon as that's then done, we can actually tell Prometheus to scrape all these MySQL exporters, and we are going to do that from our MySQL cookbook. So, that's going to happen here. So let me create a new shell where we'll change into the Prometheus dash. Oh, it's an underscore, huh? Yeah, FrySteel cookbook. Now I'm okay. So even the Vagrant installation with KVM does work right on the host. I'm curious. Yeah, why wouldn't it? Yeah, okay. So everything is going to be a little bit less complex now that I'm using Homebrew here on my host. That's really nice. Right, so what we need is basically a copy of the node exporter recipe here, just for the MySQL-D exporter. So let's simply grab the node exporter code, because the MySQL-D exporter code is going to be pretty similar. We'll have to update that to 24, and the cookbook stays the same, but we are talking about the MySQL-D exporter. I wonder... Oh, okay. Is what we have here relevant down here? Yeah. No, is it? Yeah, we have to identify the Prometheus server. That's because probably we're going to limit access to the exporter to the IP address of the respective Prometheus server, and we have different Prometheus servers for our production and testing environments. And the node exporter URL takes into account the node exporter web listen address. Yeah, okay. I'm just not sure why we are actually... Ah, yes, I see. Here we only identify the Prometheus server node that belongs to the chef environment this node to be monitored is located in. And if we can't find any Prometheus server, then there's no use in trying to set up the exporter either, because, yeah, if there's no Prometheus server, why would we run a monitoring agent in the first place? Okay, we leave that as it is, and we might eventually want to extract this logic somehow, because it keeps repeating. And instead of the node exporter, we'll include the MySQL-D exporter recipe from the Prometheus X cookbook, which is the base cookbook here. And then we'll set up a proxy for MySQL-D exporter from a template that we'll call MySQL-D exporter proxy. That needs to be copied as well. Template cookbook is the same, and all these things are basically going to be the same, just instead of node exporter. Oops, we're going to... Okay, that stumbled over line length, I think. So maybe I need to replace, or at least update, the hop plugin in my NeoVim installation, because it struggles with longer lines. And then everything gets confused, as you can even see with the syntax highlighting here being broken now. That's all the general stuff, and then here we'll have another web listen address, which will only differ from the node exporter by its port number, I think. So let's see, let's go into the attributes, and actually we only have one node exporter. Ah yes, we only have one node exporter attribute that belongs to this cookbook. And that's the exporter address, and that it's this is going to be 19100, and the MySQL exporter is on 19114, so we'll export this on 19114. We could actually... No, we can't use the 9114 directly, because that, if we use the 0 address here, that would include localhost, and of course the MySQL D exporter itself is already running on 9114, and so we'll keep it with the offset of 10,000 here, as we've already established with the node exporter. And then we actually override an attribute of the Prometheus X cookbook. As you can see, the first key in this nested hash here is Prometheus X, while the first key here is Prometheus Freistyle, which is the cookbook that I'm working in and on at the moment. So we do an override here. So let's copy this. MySQL D exporter. And I think we're missing an underscore here in the comment. So that means MySQL D exporter web listen address is going to be localhost 9114 alone, only localhost, which is, I think, the default in the exporter software anyway, but hereby we make it, we make sure that it is. And let me refresh my memory if 9114 is actually the right one. Here's the MySQL D exporter, and we've actually not used any web listen address in the first place, which is curious, because I wonder how we set this up then. Oh yes, we didn't. We were relying on the default, I think. Okay. So the black box exporter is 191.15. And yeah, we'll have to probably eventually have to add the same attribute, the web listen address.
It's a Unix system. I know this.
Ankit, welcome to the stack. Thank you for the follow. It's highly appreciated. How's it going on this nice Thursday afternoon? Okay, so no web listen address in the first place. Yeah. I was about to say I rely on myself making or establishing consistency in this sub-cookbook eventually, but then my brain started laughing, and so what I'm going to do is actually create another issue that this attribute is missing. Web listen address not configured for MySQL exporter. And we'll describe it this way. In Prometheus X MySQL D exporter, we're relying on the default setting for the MySQL exporters listen address. For consistency's sake, at least, we should offer a related node attribute as we're doing for the other exporters. pressing escape doesn't really work on this web browser, but it's such an ingrained thing by now. My muscle memory tends to press escape once I've finished a train of thought and writing a sentence. So we'll set it to triage, it's infrastructure, and it's not a feature. It's I'd say it's a bug. It's at least not consistent. It's not pretty. So if I were to assign a weight, it would be very lightweight, but and we'll need the Prometheus X cookbook as the context. So if I create this issue, this is preserved. Yep, that worked. And that way we don't have to rely on my memory to get this fixed. Ankit writes, I'm doing fine, thanks. How about you? I'm doing great as well. Having a great day so far and happy to be online again with all you people. It's really nice. I did share my latest newsletter previously, and if you missed that, feel free to check it out. My latest issue has a monologue, a column in there about the 80-hour work week that some people seem to find useful to getting becoming an amazing engineer. I disagree, and in this column you can read why that is. And at the moment we are doing infrastructure coding for the hosting platform that my business is operating. Everything needs to be automated. We are a very small team operating this platform, and so we don't want to have to do any manual work setting up new servers and things like that. Everything needs to be automated. And that includes our future monitoring system, which will be based on Prometheus. And for our database clusters, I'm at the moment working on a MySQL exporter that will provide Prometheus with the necessary metrics about our databases. So, I can't rely on our cookbook here to tell me if 9114 is the actual port, because it's never made explicit, I'm afraid. Yeah, I can see here the MySQL exporter has only one command line argument, and that's the authentication configuration file that we're going to use to access MySQL. And for everything else, we are relying on default values, which is okay as long as we want to use localhost, which is the case. But I have to go back to the GitHub page for the Prometheus MySQL exporter to see where it'll actually run. And as I can see here, I was mistaken. It's 9104, not 14. Good thing I checked back on that. And that's why I just created that issue, because I can't really rely on my brain, on my memory. Might be a sign of old age, but I think it's just because I have to deal with so many things on a daily basis. That's my excuse, at least. That's nothing to laugh at, Theo. Welcome to the stack, mate. Okay, oh, it's getting hot in here. Spring is outside, and temperatures have sprung quite a bit. And yeah, my environmental display here tells me it's 24 degrees in the office. I'm close to switching on the fan here. Wow. I'm sweating in my hoodie, which is a Monospace Mentor hoodie. What you say? Huh? New merch. $91.04. let's try and keep that in mind. So, in terms of attributes, even if I want to set this fictitious attribute, there's no harm, by the way, in setting attributes that don't get used. It's just wasting a little bit of memory because it'll create another key in this already huge hash. So there's not really much harm there. It's 9104, not 14. And once I've finished, I've resolved the issue that I just created, then this will actually take effect. It should take effect anyway. Let me see the... I guess it's the web listen address as well, if the naming here is consistent. General flags... Yeah, web listen address to listen on for web interface and telemetry. Unfortunately, they added the description, but not the default values for that. We'll have to actually explore the code, I guess. Simply to make sure it's not actually binding to the 0 address and exposes all metrics of our database systems to the world. That's something that I wouldn't want to happen. I guess if we do a search, it's a listen underscore address, I think. Oh, okay. And let's simply search for 9104. That should yield something. Actually, I'd like to see the code. I'm not signed in, that's why I don't get any results. Okay, just give me a second. That's a consequence of having so many different browser profiles in use, that in some of them I'm not logged into where I want to be. Dockerfile is also something that I'm interested in. Once we have a little bit more experience in running Docker in production, we'll make use of these Docker images as well, so we don't have to actually install anything on our... Well, thinking of it, it won't change much. It's just a different way to install the MySQL D exporter in this case. We'll still need Nginx to secure everything and things like that, so yeah. No, there's not many instances of 9104 as well. It's mostly web flag, add flags. It's :9104. Is that a default value? Yeah, it looks like it, no? So toolkit flags, web flag, add flags, kingpin command line, :9104. Now, what's :9104? That's actually 0 :9104. I think I was mistaken in what the default value actually is. I guess I was carried by my hope that they would by default bind to localhost, but yeah, why would they? That probably would create additional friction once people started accessing the MySQL D exporter, because from the outside it wouldn't be possible by default. Yeah, that's... it's a shame. Working settings and safe settings are often in conflict with each other, and people tend to fall on the side of working settings, on the simple defaults instead of the safe defaults. So that's actually bad. That means I need to create a fix for the missing attribute and actually use that missing attribute. And see, that's where time goes. I thought this would be pretty straightforward. I had a readily built basic cookbook, and I was intending just to integrate that with our own database cookbooks. And yeah, as soon as you look a little bit under the lid, you'll realize, oh, there's more work. It is what it is. Maybe we need some DevOps affirmations. Hint, hint. Okay. Yeah. There's no way around it. We need to tackle issue number 904 first. The Lummen, welcome to the stack. Happy to have you here. I hope you're doing great on this Thursday afternoon, on which it is partly cloudy outside here on the east coast of Ireland, but it's a mild 12 degrees outside, I think, something like that. 13 degrees actually. Nice. And 24 inside here, even though I have the window open a little bit. Okay. Did we make any significant changes here? Yeah, we did. So let's simply go ahead and commit this as a work in progress. And then we're going to... Sunny and hot. Went for a quick hike. Oh, that's amazing. That's something I didn't get to today. Usually I do my best to start my day with a 5-kilometer walk, which will usually take me to Starbucks afterwards. But today I didn't find the time. Instead, I had to take another nap because I went to bed much too late last night for reasons that were not quite in my control. And so I had to catch up a little bit on sleep after I got the kids out of the house. The Lumen is laughing about my hiking goals. That's going to border on a timeout, buddy. Yeah, but you're right. Having a chai tea latte after a hike will probably negate all the calories burned before. But hey, yeah, I'm really not into their coffee. I have everything to make great coffee here at home. So I only go there for their specialty beverages like chai tea latte or something like that, or a far too sweet macadamia nut latte or something like that I can't do at home. It's more snacks and sweets than going for a coffee, if I'm honest. Their blonde roast is possible, but yeah, the stuff that I'm making here at home is much better. .904 it is. Let's create a new branch. 904 MySQL export address. And let's fix things. So, let's close all buffers so I don't get confused. And so this is going to be a patch because, yeah, I've released the MySQL exporter previously. And since this is a missing attribute, it's basically a bug. And we're not going to... well, you can fight over if adding an attribute is an additional feature that wasn't there before. But I would say, since it wasn't there before, it couldn't be used. And so even if someone had the idea of using it, it wouldn't have any effect. And things not having an effect is a bug, and the bug warrants a patch level change. So I'm going to go ahead and do a rake bump patch, which will give me... oh, but in the correct directory. Let's make sure that's the case. Rake bump patch will automatically bump the version of this cookbook to 112 now. And let's add this version to the changelog. Hello? Ooh, that took quite a lot of time. What was the machine doing in that time? So, it's March 14. Wait a second. Ah, yeah, of course. See? I mean, I should have known that, but we're going to have St. Patrick's Day on Sunday. And I'll have the day off on Monday for that reason. It's Pi Day. That's what I was thinking. Yeah. Happy Pi Day, everyone. It's 3:14. Balthazar, welcome to the stack. Good to have you. So this is another fix, so we'll enter fixed, and that's going to be number 904, added missing web listen address for the MySQL exporter, period. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Let's go into attributes, and we'll copy these two lines from the node exporter. Oh, I already have a comment, so I'll just copy this line from the node exporter. And it's going to be not node exporter, but MySQL exporter. And the web listen address is by default everything 9104. Interesting. And note that I just copied that from the node exporter, which also runs on the 0 address by default. Interesting. So my rant before of people choosing the working configuration over the safe configuration, that's now coming back to bite me, I guess. So I guess with the node exporter, which I implemented first, I actually chose to follow the original setup and binding it to the global address. With the black box exporter, however, I chose to start right with binding it to localhost only. So I think since we already have a precedent for the better option, I'll go with localhost here. And 9104. And of course, we'll have to also use this node attribute. No use in setting it and then not using it. So I'll have to extend this with web.listen address equals, and then we need why is my... autocomplete, aka Copilot not working. Interesting. Now it's working. Prometheus X, MySQLD, web underscore listen underscore address. That's correct. Nice. You have a Pi Day shirt. That's something I don't. The exclamation mark song command should give you the currently running song, and yeah, the playlist that I'm actually running is, what is it? Let's see. It's the Synthwave playlist by Stream Tunes, Stream written with 2 E's. Yeah, cool. Of course, in 2015, that was the best opportunity to snatch a t-shirt. Yeah. And 2015 isn't that long ago. So I guess had I bought a t-shirt that day, it would probably still fit me. Even though many of my t-shirts tend to shrink in the laundry. And that's a strange phenomenon. Suddenly they end way above my waist. Strange as this is. So now let me verify that this is actually the correct way to write this attribute. Now let's go. Jeez, Louise. How far do I have to go back here? General flags, web.listen-address. Yep. All right. Yeah, I guess it's one of the t-shirts that don't really make sense outside of Pi Day. So yeah, that shouldn't get too much wear and tear, should it? Okay, I guess that's the only change necessary, fortunately. So let me spin up one of the test instances here, just to verify manually that things are how they are supposed to be. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm now working right on my host operating system, not in a container toolbox anymore, thanks to Universal Blue's Bluefin image that I'm now using, which comes with Homebrew pre-configured. So I can install all my tools in a way that doesn't pollute the host system without having to resort to using containers. It's funny that now when I do stuff after this change, which I only did yesterday or so, now I'm actually afraid that things don't work on my host system that had been working in the container before. So it's actually the opposite as it was when I started using the container, where I was afraid that things wouldn't work inside the container. But yeah, Container Toolbox really worked well and is still working well. But it's a little bit less necessary now that I can install all the tooling that I need from Homebrew. It's not so much different, Balthazar, because the only thing that I need to do is install the tools on my host system in Homebrew. And since Homebrew uses its own directory where it installs all its stuff, that's so it works on my laptop? No, I had the same setup on my laptop before, with a container toolbox and everything. It's just that toolbox before was the most reliable way to install all the development tooling without having access to the host operating system packaging. Because, yeah, with these atomic Linux distributions, adding software is a little bit more complex. And Container Toolbox was a way to solve that issue, and Homebrew is another way to solve that issue. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, that went straight over my head. Yeah, that's the test instance running, and let's see. TKS should... Oh, no. Should get me in there. So, how about we check all the exporters? There is no exporter. Why isn't there an exporter? Huh? System control, status, MySQL D, exporter. Look at that, it failed. So I tried to run it with... Oh, that didn't get replaced. It put the placeholder right in there. Wait, what did I do? Oh, yeah, this is a Ruby file. It's not a template file where I would use the ERB syntax. What I'm supposed to do is simply use a Ruby interpolation. Okay. That's that. Without spaces, I'd say. Okay. See, good thing that I did actually test that. Let's run this once more. And let's see, it still failed. Even though now it has the correct syntax, but I am missing a dash there. For some reason I thought those options would only use one dash, which is always annoying, and guess I was wrong. It's actually two dashes. Let's converge one more time.
It's a Unix system. I know this.
Douglas, thank you for the follow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, status running with web listen address bound to localhost 9104. Do tests still work? Let's run verify. They do, since we are accessing localhost. Alrighty, so that fixes things on the security side. Since we're not running tests in our CI system anymore, since we actually deprovisioned our GitLab runner that was dedicated to running Test Kitchen, I'm going to run a manual test here on my workstation. We've already created everything, changed the changelog, so I can actually commit this. This is a fix for the Prometheus X cookbook. Configure listen address for MySQL exporter. SSIA, I guess. I'll push this. I'm not going to create a merge request quite yet. I think I can actually open it in the browser though. That doesn't have the commit message though. Oh, it did actually open a completely wrong browser as well. Okay, so let's park this for a second and we'll run the full test suite. Style issues, Rubocop. What is it? Prefer single quoted strings. Inside interpolations. Yes, now that we are using an interpolation, that does make sense. So let's replace that. Wait, what? And 3 times for 3 different strings. Okay, so this should be fixed now. And will require another push. Good thing that I didn't already create a merge request, because I'd like to amend the previous commit with this change. Changing a few quote signs really isn't worth a separate commit. That will just muddle up things in peer review. So this is going to be an amend and a force push. I should run the test suite at least once before submitting a merge request. Note to self. I'm really roasting inside here. It's nice to see all these check marks. Right, yeah, I'm a software engineering streamer, so I am compelled by law to talk about Devon. No, the Lumen, don't worry. No Devon talk. Just to catch you up, there's this new AI for coding, I guess, called Devon, and it's yeah, in the last 24 hours, it was all the hype, especially on YouTube for YouTubers and Twitch streamers. Absolutely, the Lumen. Valid career advice. By the way, did you notice that I met my promise that I made on Tuesday? When we were talking about the awesome Krasam video with the DevOps affirmations. Yeah, opening up the window a little bit more definitely helped. Can't see any change on the on the thermometer yet, but the promise was to offer that as a viewer reward. So you can get DevOps affirmations right on this stream. Well, you don't have to. Just because there's a big, red, shiny button doesn't mean you have to push it. Oh, and I only did notice your comment, redeem, just now when you mentioned it. I should have had my Twitch dashboard in front of myself instead of Spotify. Yeah, Balthazar actually redeemed the affirmation, so we'll have to do them, which is a good time because I'm waiting for the results of this test run anyway. Let me think about the comment where we can actually build that in productively, because of course a comment is supposed to be a punishment for myself, because I really don't like comments. They most often are a crutch, and that's why I don't like them. I'd rather write code that does without comments and is maintainable without them. But that's exactly why this is such an expensive redeem. So I need to find somewhere where this really hurts. So, Balthazar says button was pushed, nothing happened. So let's change that, right? Folks, being an engineer is really hard on ourselves. So many things, so much social awkwardness, and it's already really stressful. Some of us even choose to have 80-hour work weeks, and so taking a little bit of a time out is a good idea. Make yourselves comfortable and enjoy a little bit of DevOps ASMR. Begin by opening your heart to this exercise. Take a deep breath. Inhale. Exhale. You are in your happy place. Your code is well written and reliable. All your pipelines are green. You don't just think in software patterns, you live in software patterns. Your friends and family understand what you do. That application you took down had already been sunset by product management anyway. You are one with Kubernetes. Your sense of humor is appreciated by everyone around you. There will be no incidents today. You are happy. You are happy. You are happy. I hope that helped. So from I'll be honest, this has been inspired by an existing YouTube video called DevOps Affirmations by Krasam. So all the credit goes to them. I just took it and ran with it. And welcome to the stack, by the way. So this was fun. Thanks for redeeming that, Balthazar. So let's get back to our code and our test suite that has actually been successful. So my pipeline is already green. So happy to see that, which means we'll just do a git amend. Oh, Ghost script is not what I wanted to launch. Let's add that and then do a git amend. Interesting, that did not actually... Previously that worked with paging. Oh, I replaced the pager actually. Okay, I did make a few changes to my Git configuration. And that was a side effect that I didn't anticipate. Configure listen address for MySQL exporter. Yep, that's that. Okay, git push force. After rewriting my commit history, that was necessary, unfortunately. And let's do a glab. Merge request create. No glab command. Is that possible? Yeah. So we have a new merge request. Let me see. The 908 No, this was 904. That's this one. And so if I reload this, there should be mention of a related merge request, at least a related branch with a related merge request, I guess. What's the best way to navigate this without going the main menu route? Shouldn't there be at least a... Yeah, a merge request is not really related to an issue, is it? Okay, fair enough. But yeah, let's see if this looks like what I want it to look like. One check fail, and that's the approval. I'll approve that myself since it's a patch, and we can delete the source branch. I'm not going to squash commits because, yeah, I made an effort of delivering a clean Git commit history. So I'll merge that, and since it's a patch level change, it'll be rolled out everywhere, not only in our test environment, but also in production. But since we are not using this exporter in production yet, that shouldn't create any problems. So, that means we can update our master branch. And now I can clean up my 904 branch here and go into 902 again. And 902 was supposed to change the Prometheus _ Freistyle cookbook. Let's close everything and go down here. Now it does make sense that we override... Well, it doesn't make sense that we override it anymore because we are overriding it with identical information, but it's always a good idea to make sure that that's the case. So if the base cookbook had the idea of changing the default value, we will still be bound to localhost. Guess it's a good idea to have belt and suspenders here. And that then opens up the door to use the MySQLD exporter with an Nginx proxy in front of it, where the listen address, no, the exporter address, MySQLD exporter address needs to be defined, right? Yeah. And that's this one here. The MySQLD exporter address then is public on 199104. Okay. And now we'll only have to add a few tests, I think. Yeah, we can pretty much copy what we're doing for the node exporter here. MySQLD exporter spec.rb. And I guess we'll simply go ahead and copy everything. what's that comment? Since we can't anticipate the originator's IP address, we can't test the HTTP address to the node exporter directly. Let's fix this and say to the exporter directly. Testing the configuration file has to suffice. So what we are testing here is the allow rule that we are setting in Nginx to only allow the Prometheus server for this environment. Okay. I guess this needs to be the same. No direct connection to node exporter. Let's also remove the node here. That makes it a little bit easier to copy. 9104 metrics should not work. But, yeah, I see. And we can't actually talk to it. It'll allow 127.11. But curl, or the HTTP resource for inspec, which is the test harness that we are using here, probably doesn't allow us to define an origination address. It can't do IP address spoofing, I guess. Why would it? I wonder if there's a way around that. But let's try and see how this actually looks like. I don't quite remember. So I guess we'll just run the client test suite, TKC. And then we'll do a TKS once the VM has spun up. That reminds me, I still need to reward the Lumen's comment. We should be able to log in, even though the converge process hasn't finished yet. And that's that. Let's check the... Oh, Nginx isn't installed yet, so I can't change that. Let's reframe the comment like this. It does not allow direct connection from the outside. And why is it using this particular address? Let's take another look at the Nginx template that doesn't exist yet, so my converge run will actually fail. We'll have to copy this and create the MySQL D exporter .conf.erb, right? Is that correct? Yeah. Hey, it's me, Brooks. Hello, welcome to the Stack. Doing great. It's actually a beautiful Thursday, I agree, and I hope you're doing great too. You did miss the DevOps affirmations, though. Maybe someone clipped them. Otherwise, I guess I'm going to clip them. So let's see. What we're doing here is allow Prometheus server, which is a variable that gets passed into this template. And, well, I guess we'll paste that here. This is going to be the same thing. The only other thing is the listen address that will be different. And the we are not going to use the node exporter URL. I guess I'll make this more generic, the exporter URL. That way, we can do this. Okay. And the name of our template is actually MySQL underscore exporter dash proxy. So we'll have to rename that. The dash proxy part was missing. And I'm surprised that it worked. I might have actually created this template. No. How did this even work? I think we overrode the node exporter. No. No idea why this worked, even though the template was missing. Oh yeah, I know why it worked, because we never even enabled this new recipe in our test suite. So it didn't get exercised at all. So let's go to the client run list here, where we not only are going to install the node exporter, but also the MySQL D exporter. And only now another converge run will give us a MySQL D exporter with an Nginx proxy in front. Balthazar reporting back with pie. I don't have any pie though. Should have brought some on my way home from lunch break. I need to run out later. It's not too late yet. Nope. I mean, it's never too late for pie. Especially not on Pi Day. Why did this run into a fatal error? Could not find recipe MySQL D underscore exporter for cookbook Prometheus fries did. Yeah, of course not. Wait, what? What else is the name of this cookbook here? Oh, I renamed the wrong file. The dash proxy, of course, does not belong there. It belongs here. Now, let's give this another try. Now, Balthazar, did you get your inodes worth from your recent viewer reward? I depend on feedback. Dan Kimo over on YouTube. Hello, welcome to the stack. Hope you're having a great Thursday. Regardless if it's Thursday morning for you, evening, or afternoon. Maybe even Thursday night already. 100% validated. Happy to hear it. Always happy to hear it. Test cache is finished. Brilliant. Let's also run the tests. Good. MySQL D exporter has the Prometheus, the fictitious Prometheus server restriction, and it can actually not access port 9104. It should be able to access this port. The proxy should just deliver a 403. How does Nginx actually use these IP? No, it doesn't even send a response back, does it? We can always try and see how this works. I'm already inside the machine. Okay, so let's go into it. Let's see, Nginx sites enabled, I guess. So there's the MySQL D exporter. Okay, and curl localhost 9104 should not work. Yeah, it of course should work because we are coming from localhost, but that means... Okay. That doesn't tell me anything. Well, it does actually. I think the reason why I don't have any tests for this particular thing, that the MySQL D exporter is reachable, is because we can expect it to be, having it set up. And the Prometheus X cookbook, the underlying cookbook doing its work, its job. Even though... Beth is up saying, besides, if I didn't feel like I got my inode's birth, then I need to reformat my file system with a smaller block size. That's also true. But I'm afraid that can lead to inode inflation. So it might actually diminish the value of your inodes. Wow, we're really deep in system administration jokes here. You know what? I think belt and suspenders does apply here as well. And as I just saw, we are trying FQDN and getting connection refused thanks to Nginx doing its job. That's correct. However, I'd also like to simply make sure that that's not because there is no backend to the proxy. So let's actually try localhost metrics, and that should be successful. Even though we are basically already testing this in the other cookbook, we might actually have misconfigured something inside this cookbook, and that means it's a good idea to test again. Dan Chemo says, I am new to the SQL. Can you give me some advice? I'm learning MySQL, but I feel somewhat stuck. So you mean the actual query language SQL, right? Let me think. It's been a long time since I started learning SQL, so I really need to put myself in your shoes. I think the best idea is... Yeah, as Softform recommends, doing some practical work. And there are a few ways to actually do some practice. There's yeah, I mean, reading up on SQL and how everything works is one thing, but it shouldn't just be dry theory. You need to get your hands on writing SQL and, of course, seeing it fail and learning from your mistakes. And Softform does recommend free code camp. That's definitely a good way to do this, because they have quite well written tutorials. Gitpod tutorials. Okay, interesting. They are interactive, which would definitely meet the practice side of things. I'd have to look into that as well. That sounds very interesting. Being able to do these things interactively in your browser is always a great thing. Of course, back when I learned SQL, there weren't any browsers. No, I'm just kidding. But there weren't any interactive websites where you could learn these things. I did it the traditional way by writing my own blog software in PHP. And since there wasn't any... what's the framework called? I'm blanking on the name. Starting with L, and the other one is Symfony. We didn't have these frameworks yet, so I did have to write my own SQL from scratch, which is, of course, a great way to learn it, because if you have these modern object relational mappers in between, where you write code in your programming language, in this case in PHP, instead of writing SQL directly, of course, you won't be exposed to SQL. So I think there are at least two options that you can go with using these interactive online sites where you can do some SQL and query some test data set. But I think the most productive one would be to use the programming language of your preference, set up a test database, and write queries to that database using plain SQL. And that way you'll get the necessary practice and you'll learn how to do basic queries, how to do aggregations, like, for example, summing up a column. And you'll also, of course, learn all the joins that are necessary if you are doing proper relational data modeling. So that's what I would recommend in your case. Basically, get your hands dirty, start a little project that requires a database, and access that database using plain SQL instead of any intermediate framework. But I'll make a note of that question because it's a really valid one, and since I'm always on the lookout on new course ideas, that sounds like a good one. Dan says, where I'm stuck is more like what is advanced level. I know the basics. That's great. Okay. Then I would go straight into the more advanced things like those different joins, how to really make efficient database queries that involve multiple tables, because that's basically going into the art of writing SQL. Especially with auto-generated SQL, in my main job running a managed hosting platform, I see so much SQL that is that terrible. Sometimes I'm really wondering why I can sleep at night after seeing these things. Joins across 12 tables that might not even have the correct indices and things like that. So that is definitely somewhere where you can excel if you can write SQL that involves multiple tables but still sends SQL that the database can answer within fractions of a second. The Laman mentions stored procedures. That's advanced level stuff as well. I would start with triggers, actually, so the database can do a few things based on the stuff that you are doing on it. I am afraid that the main problem with practicing these advanced things is with coming up with exercises that actually make sense and have practical value, and so they are not completely contrived. One more reason to consider this some kind of a course opportunity. I'm actually going to make a note on that. Question is how I do that. My daughter is ringing my phone, which probably means that no one's there to open the door. So I'd say let's take a break. I'll run a few ads and I'll be back in a few minutes. And we're back, and still dealing with the question, how can I get advanced level knowledge about SQL? Bethsar recommended a Udemy course. How dare you, recommending the competition? There's no competition yet, unfortunately. Why is creating course materials or why does it require so much effort? It's preposterous. Definitely. Since there are people who have already thought about these things in terms of how do I teach that, or what is a good way to learn these things, I would probably recommend going to Udemy, Free Code Camp, things like that, where they cover the more advanced levels of SQL in a way that is kind of practical. And I hope people have considered practical examples as well, instead of just showing you, well, this is how the join works, this is how a left join works, this is how an outer join works, because that's not really helpful. For this advanced stuff, you need practical examples that do make sense, that have some relevance. Tilama says, I completed SQL, now I don't remember anything. Yeah, that's always the case with these things. Was advised that you need to know how to CRUD operations in SQL as a software engineer. Well, CRUD isn't that hard. That's easy to remember. But the more advanced stuff, like how does an outer join actually work and when do I use it, I couldn't tell that from the top of my head either. Now, let's simply make an entry in my inbox. Course about, well, SQL? Yeah, let's phrase it like that. Let's say specifically about SQL. Happy to help, Dan. If you have any other questions, feel free to post them to chat. And tomorrow, I'm actually going to do a full hour of answering questions at 2 p.m. UTC. On Fridays, I'm always holding my office hour, where I don't do any stuff myself, but answer questions from chat. So if by then you have more questions, maybe something specific about SQL, feel free to pop by and ask about stuff. I love getting questions. Okay, so let's go back to our code.
It's a Unix system. I know this.
Abzi, welcome to the stack. Thank you for your follow. I really appreciate it. So, of course, this comment is completely wrong. That's why I'm always wary about comments, and that's why the Lumen is still waiting for their comment to be redeemed. Yeah, it's a strange accent, because I'm a German who's lived in Ireland for... when did we move here? In 13, so 11 years now. And that results in a strange accent that is in part German and in part a little bit of Irish. It's pretty fun, actually. It allows access from localhost. That would be the test description here, if you would use the it syntax. That's not yet your comment, the Lumen, because that is a very valuable and sensible comment, because it does describe the test in a way that RSpec itself would do in for plain Ruby. So Coco Melly, thanks for joining us. Thank you for the follow. So that should actually also work. Let's run another verify. And now it doesn't. Wait, what? But it did work. Do we have a problem with successful? We don't test that for the node exporter, and I guess we should actually. Is it not should be successful? Its status should equal 200? Do we have to be this explicit? I thought there was a bit more abstract way to phrase things. Yeah, okay, that works. Now, let's also add the same test. For the node exporter. Let's run them again. Yep, that works too. Node exporter is status 200, and MySQL D exporter is also status 200. So that's nice. And we did use both the port number in both tests, so no cut and paste error there. Actually, that's something that is easy to forget, especially if you keep copying and pasting stuff. So I will actually assign a port in this file, and we'll use that in here, so it's more obvious where stuff needs to be changed. And Code Tavern, which is sounds like a very nice place, a great nickname. Welcome to the stack. So we'll do this. And we'll do the same for Node Exporter. Which should still work. All right. See, you can even improve your code for future copy and paste. Not only for future maintenance, but also for future copy and paste, and make it more resilient to actually work after copying and pasting. Now, that song is really cyberpunky. Could be out of the soundtrack for the old Shadowrun RPG games. Well, yeah, I mean, it's likely if you have a synthwave playlist running. Not being too surprised here. Okay. You know what? The Lomon, that's going to be a comment. If you're copying this test file, update the port number. This really hurts my heart, adding this kind of a useless comment in here. It does make sense, it's true, so that's fine, but yeah, I count your comment redeemed. Animals Fun of Heaven over on YouTube asks, can you teach me? I can, actually. At least if you want to know about Varnish, because that's where I actually offer a course in April on. But of course, I can also answer questions here in chat about all kinds of topics that are not at all limited to Varnish. If you have any questions about system administration in Linux, or if you have questions about Ruby coding, about software engineering in general, about having an IT career, things like that are all in my wheelhouse. Feel free to ask anything that you'd like to know about. And yes, there will be Linux and Ruby courses in the future, but that will require so much work that it's not going to be likely I'll be offering them in the first half of this year. C++ is something that I dabbled in back in the day when after learning C, I also learned a little bit of C++, but I never got into it more deeply. And especially I don't have any practical experience using it, so yes, I won't be able to help you substantially with questions about C++, I'm afraid. For example, I never got into the more advanced things in C++, like generics and stuff like that. So, yeah. Your question would have to be very basic for me to being able to answer it effectively. Sorry about that, but that's beyond my horizon, I guess. Now, I'm feeling so bad about this comment. And so let's commit it. You're 11 years old, asking about C++. That's amazing. Good for you. Wow, my son is 11, and he doesn't ask me stuff about C++. Well done. I might be able to help with questions about that are more general, about object-oriented design or things like that. That would apply to C++ as well. But yeah, there will be other streamers here on Twitch that can actually answer C++ questions from their own practice. And so they might be better candidates to ask your questions too. Well, yeah, I was about to commit these things. Let me see. We have... no lazy git? No, lazy git has an unrecognized key. So the more recent lazy git version that I've installed using brew doesn't seem to be compatible with my previous... with my previous... configuration. Okay. So let me just get back to my directory that I just quit accidentally. That's Prometheus Freestyle. Gem over on YouTube asked, "Hi, what do you think about the Go language? You mean?" I'm very curious about Go. I did not get into it yet, but it's going to be the next programming language that I'm going to teach myself. So far, I've mostly been doing Ruby programming in the last 13 or so years, and Ruby did actually cover everything nicely that I needed for my job, for my business, and things like that. So why would I use additional time on learning another programming language after learning about a dozen or so already? But I also love learning new stuff, and I will always try and learn new stuff. And if it comes to a programming language, Go is going to be the next thing that I'm going to tackle. So yes, I do think highly about Go. It is a nice system level language with a syntax that I'll be able to understand easily. And so, yeah, it's going to be worth my time. Dan Kemo says, my thought is to become a database developer. What programming language do I need to pay attention to other than SQL? What do you mean by database developer, though? What does a database developer do in your mind? Because, of course, and that might be part of your question, you can access databases for all kinds of programming languages and for all kinds of use cases. So, database developer is not really a very precise job description. Because if you're, say, a front-end developer, you might need to access databases. If you're a back-end developer, you'll definitely have to access databases. So that's going to be part of being a software engineer, actually. Bethesda shared, I used to have a database developer on my team a few years ago. Now, he was a bit of a polyglot, so he wrote a lot of code in a lot of languages, but he did find that Python was quite handy for much of the work he was doing. Yeah, I mean, if if you don't have any constraints where, say, your job requires you to do a specific programming language, I think Python or Ruby, for that matter, would be actually a good idea because they are so versatile and you're not really tied to any particular use case. You can write web applications in Python or Ruby. You can write command line applications, all these things. And so as soon as you write an application that needs some kind of a persistent data store, you'll probably be dealing with a database, which you need to design, where you need to decide how many tables with how many columns you're going to have and things like that. So I would say if you're not limited in any way, I would choose a more universal programming language such as Python or Ruby. My preference is, of course, Ruby because I've been doing that for very long. And then simply find a use case, find a personal project that you want to do. Because, for example, when I was young and started with programming, back then I did BASIC and Pascal mostly, but that was back in the 80s. I started with, one of my major projects back then was actually writing a little accounting software for my mother, who was doing payroll for a construction company. And so I got into not only how to program stuff and store things in a database, of course. I had to manage all the employees and things like that in a database, their salaries and all that stuff. And I had to write the whole SQL to access the database and things like that. So finding a practical project that you're personally interested in is something that will teach you a lot. Not only about databases, it'll go far beyond that, but including databases. And the thing, it being a personal project, means that you'll have intrinsic motivation that keeps you at it. So even if things will get a little bit more dicey and you're getting frustrated, there will still be some kind of an interest in there, in you, to try and solve the problem that you're having. If, on the other hand, you're doing someone else's project, for example, for a course or so, you might get frustrated enough to drop it and not continue doing it. So if you have something that you are personally interested in, simply go ahead and build it. And of course, it should include a database. This guy Funk says SSIS maybe. That's actually your name with your avatar is amazing. Actually, that's really great. I don't actually know what you are referring to by SSIS. But as I said, that said, one of the beautiful parts about SQL is that any language is really applicable. Yeah, because the SQL is executed by the database, so it's completely independent of the programming language you're writing your application in. Now, why are we still... Yeah, I still haven't made my commit. Ah, yes, I tried to start LazyGit and that broke. Why did it break, actually? Let's take a look at my docs files. Config, LazyGit... And that does not work anymore. Command \. Why doesn't it? Let's update this configuration. LazyGit. LazyGit is a great terminal-based Git UI. I really enjoy it when I have to do a little bit more convoluted stuff. Otherwise, I'll simply use Git on the command line anyway. SSIS is the SQL Server Integration Services. Oh, that's why I wasn't familiar with the term. Thanks for that. I've never dealt with the Microsoft side of things. When SQL Server came out, I think especially the open source developers looked down on it pretty much. MySQL was the name of the game. But from time to time, it crossed my radar. And I still remember that it seemed to be getting better and more useful. And I guess nowadays with C# and Blazor and all these things, it's just a normal part of your build environment if you are Microsoft based, I guess. But yeah, I have no idea about that. And it's a BDI platform. Wait, what is BDI? Business Data Integration? Is that more... It's been around since '89, yes. I have too. LazyGit key map, I guess, or keybind. Ah, damn. Dan chose Python, not Ruby. I hate it. Just kidding. Let's see, key bindings. How do I bind backslash? Maybe I don't have to bind backslash anymore. These are just the default bindings, right? Custom command key bindings. But that's just custom commands. Custom key bindings, that's more like it. So we have C/. Oh, okay, so this gets written out now. No, here we get control/. Okay. But apparently backslash is just not an option anymore, huh? I see. Okay. Well, maybe we can get around it by not using it. And the pager that we're going to use is not going to be Delta anymore because Delta apparently isn't maintained anymore, so we're going to use difft. And difft doesn't page, does it? Oh, that's why my git log earlier didn't page anymore. Well. I think we'll try and get along without any specific key bindings for the time being. Let's do a chinois apply. And let's try this out. What happens if I run LazyGit now? Okay, at least it starts. So, let's take a look. We have the additional attributes with the correction that it's 9104, not 9114. We'll use the exporter URL. We have to add the template. We have the file with the terrible comment. We are using the port variable for node exporter 2. And we have added the recipe. Okay. Did we also bump our version? I don't think so, did we? So we are still 071 and the changelog. Yeah, 071 is older. So we need to do a bumpy bump, break, bump, and since we are adding functionality, it's a minor version jump. So we're jumping from 071 to 080. And that requires a changelog entry, 080. It's the 14th, and we have 14 degrees, so that fits. Happy Pi Day, everyone, actually. And this guy Funks, thank you for the follow. So, added. Installation of the MySQL exporter. Now, as I said before, I should run at least one full test suite before I actually submit a merge request. And since there might actually be changes that I still need to make, I'm also not going to commit stuff. See, there are stylistic issues that Robocop complains about, and that is space around operators. I should have included a space. All right, so let's fix our 2 test files. We'll substitute that this way. And this way. Now let's see what Robocop thinks about this. I'm getting hungry, actually. All that pie talk is making me hungry. Pie. Business/data intelligence. Thank you for that. Yeah, BI is a term that I was familiar with. Big data, as it was called before. Big data was the hype before the Docker hype started, right? Hadoop! That's right, Mood, that's right. Yeah, it's a great name, definitely. Good marketing. Now that I've removed the key bindings, I'm going to use LazyGit to make the commit, just to see if it still works like I expect it to. So that there aren't any nasty surprises when I really need it. Just realized that my bookmarks in my Chrome-based browser are really off. Okay. Okay, that will require a little bit of cleanup. There's another hierarchy in there that needs to be fixed. So I guess I can actually delete this, and then I move this up here. That makes more sense. All right. Mood, have a great evening yourself. Thanks for dropping by. Always a pleasure. Okay, well, we're in time. Yeah, half an hour to go, and I guess... Thanks, I appreciate you. Okay. Yeah, I guess I finished this. Submit the merge request. And call it a day, at least in terms of live coding. So we didn't get to do the Ansible dance. Gets pushed further and further. I really want to get my hands dirty with Ansible. You know what? While we're waiting, even though this might actually be the last test suite that needs to run, we can still get a words on stream in, can't we? Let's go ahead and see if Balthazar's still the master. Record to break is level 15. Let's see how far we'll get. Post in chat the solutions you can come up with by combining the letter on the screen. So, for example, random. This many words you can build with these few letters. That's amazing. Tristan. Manor. Yeah, brilliant. Few more points. Thanks for that, Balthazar. Proud of myself. I'm not locked anymore, right? Okay, so let's get that. What have the Romans ever done for us, right? Off to a good start. Yeah, aqueducts, that might be. Okay, but what other than aqueducts have the Romans ever done for us? Next level. Worth a try. Well, if gamed is a solution, then game is too, right? Cheap win. And you know what would go well with my pie later? Why doesn't age not? Why does age not work? That's curious. Aged. Try again. Maybe you were still locked. See. You need to wait until the timeline has passed the lock if you found after you found a solution. One more. Which word is missing? We might be able to finish this with all words for a change. That's already been done. Egad! Well done! Since it's not my first language, I wouldn't have found that, but yeah, well done, this guy Funks. That's nice, even though it's just level 5, or if it just was level 4, actually. No, level 2. I am very happy that we finished all the words. Oh, you just guessed it. Yeah, Egad is basically something you... a term of astonishment. I don't expect meep to be a word, but it's a nice word. Aha! For once, Balthazar, for once. Nice. Reaching the goal that early on. Oh, Balthazar already caught the pier. Okay. Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. I still insist on meep being the word. Along with moopsie. We did smash that goal, didn't we? And it gains us 2 levels. You guys are on fire! Ooh, that's going to be a little bit more difficult, and be careful, there's a fake letter that can't be used, actually. That is useless, and I would say it's probably the Y. Let's find out. Oh, if Rocky and Rock don't work, then it's one of these. Might be the C, maybe? Core doesn't work either. Yeah, it's probably the C. Is whore a word? That's more Latin, right? Yeah, okay. This is a strange combination of letters. The R of all things. Ooh, Balthazar getting us across the line at the 11th hour. Sorry for misleading everyone. It was the R. Yeah, that was a saving snipe. Oh, oily didn't work. So it's the O? There's also male. Ooh, amplify, wow. But we need 115. Oof. We don't have an E. Ah. Crap. That level broke us. close. Thanks for playing. We need more players. We need more people coming up with words. Yeah, it was a tough one. A tough one. Alrighty, my test suite has finished, so I'm going to try LazyGit. Let's take a look at stuff. That all looks sensible. We have the metadata and changelog. So I guess I can press A to add everything to the staging area. C for the commit summary, which means it's a feature for Prometheus FreeStyle. Set up MySQL exporter. But, wait. Yeah. At this stage, we can't fully set it up. It still needs credentials to access the database, but we'll have to do that in one of our database cookbooks, because only there we can actually make sure there is an actual database user for monitoring setup. I won't expand the scope of this cookbook, which is still centered around Prometheus, to dealing with actual MySQL stuff. It sets up the MySQL exporter, and this exporter will actually work as the tests prove, I guess, but it won't return any results. So if I press enter here without having a commit description, it does commit. That's nice. Okay. So this did work. I guess we can push this. And create a merge request. Control P is actually a very useful hotkey in the shell. I only learned that recently. It's great for auto-completing commands, so I can simply enter glab and then press Command P, Control P, and it'll take the last instance of the glab command that I used. And since I use glab mostly to create merge requests, that makes things really, really easy. What happens if I say continue in browser? Does this still work? Yeah, but it gets me to a different browser because, yeah, I'm using a different instance of Firefox for the stream, which has a larger font size, so it doesn't actually reach that one. Okay. Yeah, Control R does work as well. It basically does the reverse. I can press Command R and actually use Atuin, which is a great central command line history. So that gets shared with all my machines. And of course, I can also say, okay, just show me everything that's related to GitLab or glab. But simply entering glab and pressing Command P is still much faster. Especially if things aren't as ambiguous as with our other commands. The Lamin, thanks for stopping by. Atuin works across machines because Ellie, the maintainer of Atuin, actually runs a central server to which you can submit your shell history. Thing is, it's end-to-end encrypted, and so pretty safe that way, and it's actually pretty useful. And if you are paranoid, you can still run your own Atuin server, so you can self-host that. So yeah, really, really nifty. So far, she's actually sponsoring the central Atuin server, so it doesn't cost anything. But she is on the lookout for how to monetize things in a very pleasant way, to be honest. So it's always going to be open source and things like that. She'll just add additional features that you then can subscribe for with the central server. No idea what she's going to come up with, actually. But for the basic features, you can still use the free access to the central server, or as I said, you can simply self-host do it for yourself. That's always an option too. Now, merge request submitted, everything done. I'd say let's do the pub thing and say final rounds. Is there anything that you'd like to ask? But you can always also keep your questions until tomorrow, when I'm going to do my office hour at 2 p.m. UTC, where there's a full hour or even more for only answering questions. I don't have to prepare anything except for your questions. And that's always a fun time, because I never know what questions are going to come up. And yeah, I love these challenges. So, if you want, in the meantime, to keep chatting, you can join our Discord. And you're more than welcome to join us over there. It's a pleasant bunch of people, and we talk about all kinds of stuff. Once a month, we also have a hangout where we simply have a casual chat in a video call. That is definitely something that's always great. And I'm in the process of launching my own community platform, which is going to be a paid community, because I intend to spend a lot of time with you over there. If you'd like to really seriously expand your knowledge, pursue a specific goal, learn something, or make a career jump, this community might be a good option, because it'll allow you not only to communicate with all the other community members, but also you'll get direct access to myself via email and chat. And you'll get the option of scheduling a personal one-on-one coaching call, one call per month, where we can spend 45 minutes with each other, talking about your goals, checking back on your progress, doing pair programming if that's something you'd like. All these things are included, and while I'm still working on getting everything in place for you to hit the ground running, you can already join the waitlist. And on this waitlist, I will not only announce when the server room, as the community is called, is going to open, but I'll also send a coupon code that will allow the first 20 people to sign up to get a 50% lifetime discount on the subscription fee, which is definitely substantial. So if you are interested in joining a community that is focused on your own growth, check it out. And sign up for the waitlist. Doesn't cost anything, doesn't get you spammed. It'll just allow you to join with a 50% discount that will last for the lifetime of your subscription. So, with that plug done, thanks for watching. And I guess we have the opportunity of raiding someone. Let's see if there's anyone around that we can raid. BBB is again taking a break, but Rachel is there. So I think we'll say hello to Rachel. Gel codes. Let's set up the raid. There we go. One of the great women, not only in tech, but also in Ruby. And I hope to see you tomorrow for the office hour, 2 p.m. UTC. Sounds good? Great. Until then, take care.